Welcome to the Yoga Voice, a podcast by Cityoga School of Yoga and Health. Our guests discuss how the contemporary practice of this ancient art transforms the lives of individuals and communities in the Midwest and beyond. Cityoga has been a center for the practice of yoga and yoga teacher training since opening in 2002. Join us as we explore how yoga inspires and transforms.
Welcome all to the Yoga Voice. Dave Sims here is your host today on this special edition of the Yoga Voice. We are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Cityoga School of Yoga and Health in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I had a special guest on, the actual founder of Cityoga, Nikki Myers. Started the studio 20 years ago. I took over running it 10 years ago. We've become great friends in the meantime. And Nikki is just a wonderful person. She's a yoga therapist, a teacher, somatic experiencing practitioner. She's co-founder of the Yoga of 12-Step Recovery, coined as Y12SR. And like I said, was the founder of our School of Yoga and Health. And we just had this incredible conversation about some of the seeds that were planted early on that sprouted into this beautiful studio and school that we have today. And then the roots of how the Y12SR program and all the amazing program that Nikki has been doing just really the last 20 years. You find information to how to get a hold of her through our podcast notes, and you can find her on OmStars, a wonderful platform by the incredible Keena McGregor. And so she has a lot of teachings out there. I encourage you to check out her website, but do sit back and enjoy listening to this. Really got pretty deep in our conversations around yoga and recovery and addiction and healing and all the different components and all the amazing people that have come together and really a much needed approach to healing through yoga therapy, through yoga philosophy, through the blending of spiritual principles underlying the 12-step recovery model. So there was a lot of things we covered in a short amount of time. So thank you so much for tuning in, and here we go. Welcome, Nikki. Wow. We were just catching up. It's just so incredible. It's been a few years since we've sat in here.
It has been a few years. And until you said that, it was 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's time.
Yeah. Well, time, the last few years, time seems to be warped.
Right. And I know it's an illusion, right? That it's not even real. And, oh my goodness.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's just quite a journey. So just to our listeners, Nikki has previously been on the show, like we said. It's been a few years back. But she's here today because we are getting ready to celebrate Cityoga School of Yoga and Health's 20th anniversary. And Nikki was the founder. And it's also 10 years that I've been running it.
I know.
And it's unbelievable. So
unbelievable.
So I wanted to get her in, A, to see her and catch up. And I love talking to Nikki. And B, to just, kind of talk about where you're at today, and then kind of take a little trip down memory lane to the little seeds of Cityoga sprouting.
I love it.
So, yeah, lots to catch up on, lots of, things to cover. But one thing, I've always appreciated your intention behind the studio and going through the training here myself, and then trying to honor what you started, and then also being open to how it grows and evolves, and paving the path for the next generation of yoga teachers. who are going to be amazing or are amazing already. But that all goes back to you, and so it's really cool. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't even know where to start with that except for the intention from the very beginning. What I noticed some 20 years ago now, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Was that particularly at that time, there wasn't much yoga in the city. All the yoga was relegated to the suburbs.
Yeah.
Right. There was yoga in Brownsburg. There was yoga in Nora. There was yoga in all these all these outlying areas,
Yeah.
but there was nothing really in the city, and thus the name City Yoga. Yeah. I was teaching a class, a Yoga for a Better Back class, which was one of the signature classes that I taught here at City Yoga, and I was teaching it at Addicts at
Christmas Addicts,
right? At Christmas Addicts Middle School. I think it was a middle school then. Again, that was really, other than there were some, a few classes like at IUPUI, but they weren't so much for public consumption. Mm-hmm. And so there was this void, right? This deficit of yoga in the city. Yeah. And everything in me was saying, do this here. Yeah. At City Yoga. So we started out at 38th and Meridian. Yeah. And then expanded from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been, quite the journey. Well, this facility is still amazing. You found like a good spot, and the, we put a few layers of paint on it since, and rent's gone up, but, but such is life. And that, so when you got things started, with City Yoga, there was maybe just a handful of studios in the city.
That's right.
And now there's dozens of, strictly speaking, yoga studios, but there's hundreds of places yoga's offered now.
Yeah.
And so as you watched the studio grow the first 10 years and the yoga growing around you, what was your experience of that?
Man, everybody, my parents, well, my mom was still alive at the time, and my brothers and sisters and most of the people around me thought I was out of my mind. A yoga school, right? A yoga school. Yeah, I got teased a lot. Yogurt. I mean, yoga wasn't very, very widespread or in the mainstream like it is now. Mm-hmm. And so people thought I was really gone off the deep end to start a yoga school. I remember not only was I teaching that class at Christmas Addicts, I was teaching in a few churches in the community. And it was at a time when, you almost had to disguise the word yoga. You had to talk about it as stress relief, as, all these. I used it in a more therapeutic way. So it was yoga for people with diabetes and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And I used to have to make an argument that this was a way, it had nothing to do with religion, number one, and that it was a way to, particularly people in the Black community, which was one thing I definitely wanted to serve. And you used to have to make the argument that this was a way of health to reclaim our own bodies. So we're not so much at the mercy of the medical systems and all of those kinds of things. So yoga was not mainstream in so much, not just it just started to become mainstream, really mainstream on the coast.
Yeah.
On the West and East Coast. But definitely here in the Midwest, when Cityoga started, it was definitely not mainstream.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting journey through those times. A really, really interesting journey.
Yeah. Well, and that it makes me think too that obviously the yoga community's grown so much, but there's still, like you mentioned, the Black community. I still was just talking to a young man that came into yoga in the last, just recently, and some friend of his invited him to yoga. He's like, it's for white people. There was still a bit of the not completely integrated into the different communities for different reasons and whatnot. But what is amazing though is that the communities have grown so much, and seeing just the area around where you said like there was no yoga studios in the urban environment. Now we've got there's a bunch of studios, all different kinds, but there's so many like juice bars and vegan this and vegan that, and there's a lot of attention to alternative therapy type stuff, or just really it's more like healthy living, lifestyle, wellness.
Yes.
That's not driven by the medical industry.
Yes.
There's maybe some supplement industry things sneaking in there, but for the most part, it's people like going whole food.
Yeah.
Reclaiming their bodies.
That's right.
And finding a holistic, like, path in their own personal health and wellness, and one thing that you were a big influencer on is the growth of yoga in the city. And you have to kind of own that. And I've had more than one person tell me that's maybe moved here from like another medium-sized city, maybe out west, maybe it's a Denver or like a Minneapolis or a Kansas City, and they were embedded in their yoga community there, and they've come to Indianapolis, visited studios, got kind of plugged in, and the comment that really struck me was that they're like, this Indianapolis today has a really mature yoga community. Like this is like a really solid, like there's, a lot of people talking traditional, concepts and philosophies, and it's not just a trendy yoga thing, but a deeper yoga thing that's spread throughout the community. So thanks for laying that groundwork.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. There has to be a foundation, right? And when it's steeped in, and this stuff is, 5,000 plus years old, right?
Yeah.
So steeped in foundation and the ability, so we got roots, right? Roots with this stuff. And I would assert that it's always important to acknowledge roots and to keep with all those things, because that's what give you wings, right? And this thing, now that there's some roots, has the possibility to continue to really fly and evolve and all those things, and not push away that foundation. Really to really allow that to have the roots be solid so we can grow something from there.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, me too, totally. And so the you have to come out for our anniversary party.
I wish I could. Mish is coming though.
Oh, Mish is coming.
Yeah, Mish is coming. We spoke about it. I'm headed out over the weekend, right? I'm not teaching. Richard and I are at my beloved.
Richard's been on the show.
Yeah.
Richard Donlan. And Mish is Nikki's daughter, who was basically the business manager for the studio for 10 years.
Thank God. Right?
So shout out to Mish for keeping this place financially healthy and growing.
Yeah. No way that it was going to work without that. Because what I found was when I was trying to do it all, there was this bifurcation that was occurring, and I couldn't give as much awareness and attention to the study and growth from the study.